So, we're calling 2025 a year of celestial enigmas. And, man, it's not an exaggeration. The sheer volume of UAP reports has just exploded. It's like the floodgates opened. You've got the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, AARO, finally declassifying documents that have been locked away for decades. And at the same time, everyone and their grandmother has a 4K camera in their pocket. We're also getting these insane, crystal-clear images from the James Webb Space Telescope that are just rewriting the textbooks on a weekly basis. It's this perfect storm of official disclosure, ubiquitous technology, and next-level science. The data is pouring in from every direction. Military pilots, commercial airline captains, backyard astronomers, and government sensors. It's a tidal wave of information, and we're all just trying to keep our heads above water. Alright, let's kick this off with the big one, the thing that has every astronomer and physicist either terrified or ecstatic. I'm talking about 3I Atlas. It was first spotted on July 1st, 2025 by the Atlas survey in Hawaii. At first, they thought it was just another weird comet, or an asteroid coming in from the Oort cloud. But the more they looked, the weirder it got. Its trajectory was off. Its speed was anomalous. It wasn't behaving like a chunk of ice and rock should. It didn't have a coma. It was just this dark, inert object moving in a way that defied our models. This is where my friend Avi Loeb and his team at the Galileo project jumped in. Now, Avi is a legit Harvard astrophysicist. He's not some kook. He's the guy who looked at Oumuamua back in 2017 and asked, what if that was a piece of alien tech? People called him crazy then, but now, with 3I Atlas, he's back at it. He ran the numbers, looked at the trajectory, noted the lack of outgassing, saw the slight course adjustments, and concluded there's a 30 to 40% chance this thing is artificial. A probe, a solar sail, a piece of something built by someone else. Then they pointed the James Webb Space Telescope at it. The spectral analysis came back, and it was just bizarre. The material composition didn't match any known asteroid or comet type. It was reflecting light in a way that suggested a manufactured surface. Maybe metallic. Maybe something else entirely. The data was so strange that different teams offered completely different interpretations. It was like looking at a Rorschach test in space. The tension kept building as it headed for perihelion on October 29th. Everyone was watching. If it was a comet, it might break up or start outgassing like crazy. If it was an asteroid, it would just whip around the sun and head back out. But if it was a probe, what would it do? Would it power up? Would it change course deliberately? The scientific community was on eggshells. They were being incredibly cautious with their language. Anomalous properties, inconclusive data. It didn't break apart. It held its integrity. The slight variations in its trajectory on the way out were even more pronounced. The mainstream position still calls it a natural object of a type we don't yet understand. But that explanation is feeling less and less satisfying. The alternative, an interstellar probe, is paradigm shifting. But the data is the data. And the data is weird as hell. It's no longer just, are we alone? It becomes, who are they? And what is that thing doing in our backyard? So, while the entire world is freaking out about 3I/Atlas, something else happens that throws gasoline on the fire. On October 8th, just a couple of weeks before Atlas's big solar flyby, a different set of sensors, part of a network looking for near-Earth objects, gets a series of pings. Not one, but 9 distinct transient objects. They just appeared, moving in a loose, almost coordinated formation on a trajectory that seemed to be shadowing 3I/Atlas, but from a much greater distance. They were faint, right on the edge of detection. The initial report, probable fragments from a hidden comet. The European Space Agency, ESA, came out quickly and poured cold water on it. They were skeptical, most likely sensor artifacts, glitches in the system, cosmic ray hits, reflections inside the telescope, electronic noise, and they have a point. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. But the internet went ballistic. People were calling it the flotilla. Not a comet, a welcome party, or an escort, or a defense fleet. The debate, real signal or noise. Some independent analysts said the signal-to-noise ratio, while low, was consistent across all 9 detections, making random glitches less likely. They suggested dust echoes, faint reflections off clouds of dust kicked up by the objects, rather than the objects themselves. Ultimately, the hidden comets remain a mystery wrapped in another mystery. Were they real? If so, what were they? A natural coincidence? Or linked to 3I/Atlas? Lack of clear, verifiable data leaves us in limbo. A reminder, in UAP investigation, an ambiguous signal can spawn a story powerful enough that truth almost becomes secondary. The idea takes on a life of its own. And then, just when you think things can't get any weirder, someone digs up a prophecy. Of course they do. This time it's from Baba Vanga, the blind Bulgarian mystic who supposedly predicted all sorts of major world events. The prophecy that went viral claimed that in 2025, the Earth would be visited by those from the stars and that this contact would be preceded by a great warning in the heavens. People immediately connected the great warning to 3I/Atlas and the visitors to the signal that came next. Right in the middle of the 3I/Atlas and hidden comets chaos, the SETI Institute, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, announces they've detected a signal. It wasn't one of their main arrays. It was a smaller experimental project that was monitoring a weird, narrow band. They picked up a complex, repeating signal coming from the general direction of the Proxima Centauri system. Now, SETI is extremely careful. They have a whole protocol for this. Most signals turn out to be our own terrestrial interference. A satellite, a military radar, someone's garage door opener. But this one was different. It survived all the initial checks. It wasn't a known satellite. It wasn't a natural pulsar. It had a structure to it that looked artificial. With the world already primed by the interstellar object and the Phantom Fleet, the news of a potential SETI signal linked to a damn prophecy was like pouring jet fuel on a bonfire. People weren't just interested, they were interpreting it. This is a textbook example of confirmation bias. People were looking for a sign, and they got 3 of them in a row. The prophecy provided a framework, a story that tied everything together. 3I/Atlas is the warning. The signal is the message, and the visitors are coming. It's so much more compelling than the dry, scientific alternatives. It's a weird rock, it's sensor noise, and it's probably a new type of military satellite we don't know about. The scientists at SETI were trying to be the adults in the room, urging caution. They were saying, look, we have a candidate signal. That's all it is. The chances are it's still something mundane we haven't identified yet. But their voices were just drowned out by the sheer cultural momentum of the Baba Vanga story. It was on the news. It was trending everywhere. It stopped being a scientific question and became a cultural event. It shows you how easily our interpretation of a phenomenon can be shaped by pre-existing beliefs and narratives. We have to be so careful with this stuff. The desire for it to be true, the desire for contact, is so powerful that it can make us jump to conclusions. The Baba Vanga prophecy is almost certainly a coincidence, probably a vague prediction that could be retrofitted to fit almost any unusual event. But its effect on the public perception of the SETI signal and 3I/Atlas was profound. It colored the entire conversation, pushing skepticism to the margins and making the extraordinary explanation seem like the most logical one. That's a dangerous place to be. Let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. On the night of November 12th, thousands of people across the south of England, Cornwall, Kent, saw the same thing. A massive, silent, V-shaped formation of lights, moving slowly and deliberately across the sky. Eyewitness reports were incredibly consistent. 5 to 7 amber lights, holding a perfect V formation, completely silent, moving at a steady pace, way too slow for a conventional aircraft. This was a mass sighting event. We're talking about thousands of individual witnesses. It immediately brought to mind some of the most famous UAP cases in history. Phoenix Lights in 1997, Nimitz 2004 encounters. The England V formation fits right into that historical pattern. The Ministry of Defense suggested it was a formation of military aircraft, maybe some new stealth drones or a refueling operation. The problem with that is the silence. Another theory was that it was a string of Starlink satellites. But witnesses were clear that this was a fixed V-shape, not a train. Other people suggested a custom drone show, or maybe sky lanterns. But again, the scale, speed, formation, and lack of permits make those explanations seem unlikely. Now let's jump across the pond to New York. On December 3rd, we get another classic sighting, but this one has some serious national security implications. A group of experienced hikers reported seeing a massive, black, triangular craft hovering silently over one of the reservoirs. They said it was enormous, maybe 2 football fields on each side, 3 football fields on each side, completely black with no lights, except for a faint red glow at the center. It just hung there for several minutes before accelerating away at an impossible speed without making a sound. It was in controlled airspace, a huge object, and air traffic control saw nothing. That's a national security nightmare. Could this have been an advanced, large-scale drone? Maybe not one single craft, but a swarm of smaller drones flying in such a tight formation that they appeared to be a solid object? It might even explain how it could fool certain types of radar systems. So the Harriman Park craft leaves us with 2 chilling possibilities. Possibility 1, it's a non-human intelligence. Possibility 2, it's a human-made craft from a rival nation. Neither of those options is particularly comforting. Chapter 6. This next one is just bonkers. It involves leaked footage from a New Jersey State Police helicopter. On December 18th, the helicopter was on a routine patrol over the Pine Barrens when its forward-looking infrared camera locked onto an object. The footage is some of the clearest and most baffling I've ever seen. It shows a small spherical object zipping through the trees at incredible speeds. They are completely losing their minds. They're trained observers, professional pilots, and law enforcement. It's making instantaneous right-angle turns. It's accelerating from a dead hover to hundreds of miles per hour in a split second. The onboard telemetry clocked the object at over 400 miles per hour. It would dive down below the tree line, then pop back up somewhere else. The pilots can only see it on the infrared camera. This suggests the object was either cloaked to the visible spectrum or was somehow manipulating light around it. It wasn't just this one video. It showed that this wasn't an isolated incident. The official DoD explanation, possibly a Mylar balloon? They said a balloon was flying at 400 miles per hour and making instantaneous 90-degree turns. It's insulting. It's the modern-day equivalent of swamp gas. When you have the footage and the pilot testimony, it just doesn't fly. It creates this massive credibility gap. Who are you going to believe? The pilots and their own infrared camera, or the press release that says it was a party balloon? Chapter 7. You know we had to talk about Skinwalker Ranch. That place is a high strangeness vortex. So, in early 2025, a crystal-clear daytime video of a chartreuse green, triangular object. Not at night, not a fuzzy light, but a solid, structured craft, visible in broad daylight, hovering about 500 feet above the central homestead. They have the whole place wired. This daytime sighting, captured on multiple high-resolution cameras simultaneously. They got clear video, thermal imaging, and even some spectral data. The object was a perfect equilateral triangle in this weird, sickly green-yellow color. Chartreuse. It hovered silently for almost 3 minutes before it just seemed to fade away. Is this some kind of advanced holographic projection technology? Is it a craft with active camouflage or some kind of cloaking device that works by bending light? For years, the stories from Skinwalker were treated as spooky campfire tales. But now, they're getting hard data. It moves the needle from paranormal playground to legitimate scientific anomaly requiring investigation. This case is important because it represents the potential future of UAP investigation. Less blurry night vision videos and more high-quality, multi-sensor data captured in a controlled environment. The ranch is a laboratory for the unexplained, and this green triangle might be their most significant discovery yet. Chapter 8. Over the winter of 2025, a strange and persistent phenomenon started being reported in a rural area of northern Ontario, Canada. People began seeing a bright, pulsing orb in the sky, always in the same location, night after night. It wasn't just a simple flash. Witnesses described it as a rhythmic, intelligent pulsing, like a code. It would flash 3 times fast, then 2 slow pulses over and over in a repeating sequence. It appeared around the same time each evening, and would perform its rhythmic flashing for about an hour before fading away. It was stationary, which ruled out things like planes or conventional satellites. The first was that this was a craft using some kind of cloaking technology, and the pulsing was a byproduct, or a beacon. The other was that it was a satellite anomaly, a geosynchronous satellite, with reflective surfaces. This is known as satellite flaring or iridium flares. However, the flare explanation didn't quite fit. Satellite flares are usually very brief, and the complex rhythmic pattern was not characteristic. Furthermore, no known satellite was registered at that specific location, so we're left with this weird, persistent light. Is it a new piece of military hardware, a drone with a specific signaling package, or is it something else entirely? Chapter 9. This one is a head-scratcher. On a clear, sunny afternoon in late 2025, a piece of footage emerges. The video shows a massive, dark, non-reflective pyramid-shaped object hovering completely motionless in the sky. It had no wings, no visible means of propulsion, no lights, no contrails. The other passengers saw it too, just gasps and, "What the hell is that?" One camp was convinced this was definitive proof of the mythical TR-3B. The other camp argued it was something truly unexplained, something not man-made. Some said it was a cleverly designed kite or a specialized balloon, but the object appeared perfectly stationary despite the high winds at that altitude. Others screamed CGI. Multiple visual effects artists said that if it was a fake, it was an incredibly sophisticated one. The Denver Black Pyramid is a perfect storm. You have high-quality daytime footage, multiple witnesses, a location near a major airport, and it taps into both modern military conspiracy and ancient cultural symbolism. It's a case where you can see exactly what you want to see. We still don't have a definitive answer. Chapter 10. This last one is probably the most out there case of the year, and it's the only one that involves a potential piece of physical evidence. It's about the size of a bowling ball, incredibly dense and covered in what look like etched runes or symbols, unlike any known language. Initial analysis, alloy. Almost like a metallic glass, but with unusual isotopic ratios. It was also strangely warm to the touch. People who handled it claimed it seemed to get heavier over time. A fringe lab announced they had carbon-dated organic material to be over 10,000 years old. Now, this has to be taken with a giant grain of salt. The story split into 2 main camps. One, an elaborate and brilliant hoax. The other camp believes it's real, an ancient artifact, or a probe or a marker left by extraterrestrial visitors. The Buga sphere is the ultimate UAP mystery because it's tangible. It brings together the ancient aliens theory, the lost civilization theory, and the modern UAP phenomenon all into one bizarre, heavy little ball. Whether it turns out to be a clever forgery or a genuine paradigm-shattering artifact, its story can ignite a global debate about our past, our future, and our place in the universe. So, what do we make of this year of celestial enigmas? We're caught in this incredible crossfire of information and speculation. We have interstellar objects that defy easy classification, potential fleets shadowing them, mysterious signals from the stars, and silent, massive craft maneuvering with impunity in our own atmosphere. The evidence is coming from everywhere, from our most advanced telescopes to cell phones on a commercial flight. It's overwhelming, and frankly, it's impossible for any single field of study to tackle it alone. But at the same time, we're navigating a minefield of misinformation. For every piece of genuine data, there are 100 hoaxes, misinterpretations, and wild theories. The tension between open-minded inquiry and rigorous skepticism is the tightrope we all have to walk now. In the end, we have to follow the advice of thinkers like Avi Loeb, who reminds us to seek truth, not fear. Seek truth, not fear. The only way forward is to keep asking the hard questions, to demand transparency, to analyze the data without prejudice, and to face whatever the answer is, head on. Subscribe for deeper analysis and sources.